I think there's been a lot of misinformation going on out there, or at least confusing information in regards to people talking about their experiences on a specific class and making it sound like it's super easy, as well as a little bit of a controversial take on Warlock and Hunter. Where Warlock and Hunter are can be the safest class to level. I think that for a lot of newer players or people getting into hardcore, you're gonna find that Warlock and Hunter lull you into this sense of security, right? So let's jump in. Let's talk about it. Definitely, if you disagree with any of my points, don't hesitate to leave a comment down below. I'm happy to have some dialogue back and forth, and maybe you'll be able to change my mind on a couple of these. All right, so let's get started first with Rogue. Rogue, I think, on the survivability scale is 100% an S tier. But what we're talking about here is ease of play. I think a rogue takes a lot of consideration in regards to finesse on how to play it, when to use your cooldowns. Evasion is super powerful as well as vanish. Do know that vanish can be resisted or fail, as well as your sap can be resisted, gouge can be resisted. There's a lot of setup as well in management with energy here, that I don't think are like little nuances that are talked about a lot. For me, Rogue is a class that I don't play as much, but it is definitely S tier for survivability. For honestly ease of use for a new player, I would put this at, I mean, if we're talking about middle of the pack, yeah, sure. We might come back and adjust this a little bit later. For Shaman, you'll know in my other duo leveling tier list, I don't play Shaman. I've played a Shaman up to like level 15 on Classic. It's not a class that interests me too much. So for me, Shaman is gonna be a little bit iffy for me to rank. Honestly, on the ease of use, you do have your totems, you do have mana management. It's going to be a little bit more complex than your other classes. Enhancement does seem pretty straightforward, though. I'm going to just set this at B2. I don't want to seem like I'm just dropping everything at B, so we will readjust these in a little bit, but I want to kind of keep a kind of sound mind here. Warrior is 100% going to be in D tier. I will mention here, Warrior only gets difficult the higher level you get. Early on, from 1 to I would say about 20, this is going to be a very easy and fun way to level, especially if you keep the mobs around your level or lower. Your weapon scaling isn't going to be something that comes into play, especially since we're going to be able to buy from the auction house. I think warriors are going to have an easier time. You're just going to want to make sure that you're updating that weapon every so often. So ultimately, definitely going to put warrior at D just for that lack of survivability. Now, Hunter. This is another one that everybody automatically puts up at S tier. They say, "Oh, you have a pet, you have feigned death, you have escapes, you're at range, you're safe, right?" I disagree in the ease of the class. Yes, it is safe, but from a perspective of ease of use for a new player, I don't think that Hunter is the, like, it is good. You just need to know what can kill your pet. Because if you overpull and your pet's not, like, you're managing and controlling that pet. So if you're not using that growl with a keybind and your pet's just automatically using growl whenever, that's not, in my opinion, the correct way to play. You should definitely be controlling what your pet is taunting, when you can use your taunt, if you accidentally overpull, being able to direct your pet to pull that mob. There's a lot of nuances with Hunter, definitely, that I think honestly bumps it down to like A tier. For Paladin, I think Paladin is an extremely safe pick. I personally feel like Paladin is one of the few definite S tiers here. Like, if you went engineering mining on a Paladin, you are unkillable. It is insane the amount that you can get away with and the outs that you have. Those outs are also, in my opinion, a lot easier to use, and have shorter cooldowns versus the rogue. Additionally, here we have priest. For priest, I'm gonna have to put them at a solid B pick. The priest is gonna be a lot of wanding. It's gonna be a lot of dotting. I mean, I think they're okay. They're safe. Um, it's just you're gonna have to know when to use a heal or a shield versus using, especially in longer term fights. You're gonna have to know when to use a shield versus using an offensive spell or just wanding, as well as knowing when to use that fear. For Warlock, I'm gonna put them in A tier for the same thing as for a Hunter. Now, objectively, this could go into S. I think I will put this into S because they have fear, right? So if you fuck up with your management of your pet, you can at least then fear that mob. Do know, just be careful in tight quarters. Fearing mobs will pull the other mobs around them. So it's a nuance there, but again, I think you have a little bit more out, right? With your, I guess you could argue you have feigned death here, but like I've seen so many clips of people feign deathing and still being surrounded by mobs, right? At least here you could maybe fear a gap and try to get through. I mean, these two are really close. Again, I have a bias towards Hunter because I think that the level of play there is kind of, I think my reluctance there for Hunter is that a lot of people want to say, oh, they're the easiest thing in the world to play. And that kind of taints the class for me. I don't think they're the easiest thing to play in hardcore. And it is, um, and in my other series, it is a little bit skewed in the data that Hunters are by far the most deaths in hardcore unofficial. But again, that's because Hunters make up a lot of the population because they are said to be so safe. So they're a good pick, don't get me wrong, but I would pick Warlock and Paladin as safer, easier classes to play versus Hunter. Another one here is Druid. I would put Druid at A tier. I think Druid is super simple to play. The shifting, you have to manage the shifting and you have to be careful. But ultimately, getting to level 20, I'm gonna have to put him at B. When you get to level 20, you do get that massive power spike from your cat form. The cat form does allow you to have that kind of trailing up into the late 20s, early 30s, being able to feel like you're really pumping. You're also going to be getting your I'll put the talent up here. But there's a specific talent for Druid that you get. And you're going to be getting this around the mid 20s that starts to scale your damage a lot higher per level. And you're going to definitely feel that. It makes you kill a lot faster and feel a lot more secure in what you're doing. But again, I would honestly put this down at B tier just because you got to know the nuances, right? I'm gonna put it at A. Just be careful with your mana. That's all I have to say. You always want to make sure you have mana to shapeshift just in case you get netted or anything like that. You're immune to polys. You have bear form. I think they're A tier. And again, this is off of ease of use, right? So please don't judge me that Druid is over Rogue. My opinion is Rogue is harder to play. Yes, it has more survivability, and in my opinion, is S tier at that. For that, I would have Rogue and Hunter both at S tier as well, and then just leave these two in B with Druid and A. But we're talking about ease of use here and easier to play. I personally think from this perspective, yes, Hunter's easy to play. Druid's easier to play than Rogue, and you have a lot of outs, just like with Rogue. I mean, I know it can be argued. I'll put them at top of B, but it could be argued Rogue could be at A. With this, we have Mage. Mage is gonna be the one here that I think is polarizing, and I think a lot of people are gonna disagree with me with, but this takes knowledge in the game and how to play the class, and I think it is C tier. I don't want to put it as low as a warrior, but I think someone that picks up a mage for the first time in hardcore or has not played a lot of mage in classic and says, I'm going to level a mage in hardcore is going to have a very hard time. Um, boars early on are wiping mages off the map. Like the crag boars in Dunmorrow are just absolutely destroying mages. If you look at mages later on, miss a Frost Nova and you're dead, right? Miss a Frost Nova and yeah, you can ice block, you can cold snap, you can ice block. But like you need to know those specific rotations and how to do it, and your blinks if you waste them, and like if you blink in the wrong directions. Like I think this is very much a noob trap for someone that wants to play a class that they're like, oh, this is the best to level with. Is it the fastest to level with? Absolutely. I think that this would destroy everyone else on this. Maybe not the hunter, but ultimately mage would be disgusting for your AoE farming. But to expect for easy play and safe play on AoE farming, no, not at all. I think what this encourages is very dangerous for new players. For that reason, I'm going to put it in C tier below these. So yeah, this is going to be my tier list for the easiest classes to play in hardcore. Please, again, don't take this as the most survivable classes or the ones with the most survivability. This is, in my personal opinion, the easiest classes in the game to play. So thank you so much for watching. If you disagree or you have another opinion, please don't hesitate to drop a comment down below. I'd love to discuss what you think. But from an easy use perspective, these are my opinions. Overall, every class can get to 60, and I hope you choose the one that you enjoy the most. But as always, try not to die, and good luck when official comes out.